Hello, good morning. Welcome to Axiom Flux News. Today's date's the 20th of February 2015. I'm PJ and joining me is Dom. My first article is Unhackable. A Russian firm has developed a totally surveillance-proof smartphone. Russia is entering the post-Snowden world with style. Its own anti-surveillance smartphone prototype, equipped with the latest in cutting-edge cybersecurity and intended for corporate users, is currently being tested. This is not Russia's first foray into smartphones, with the dual-screen Yota phone making headlines recently with its second incarnation. However, the new project will offer unparalleled corporate-level security when ready. The current vision is a prototype, and photos are kept in strict secret. Called the Tega phone, the phone will be manufactured by Tega Systems, 99% of which belongs to Natalia Kaspersky, owner of the InfoWatch Group. The device will synergize with other tools provided by the company to its high-profile clients. So that's the image of the new Yota Phone 2 smartphone. The phone can also be fashioned into a traditional slab to allow only phone calls. The most extreme version of this setting will enable the user to only see incoming calls, and of course no secure device would be complete without the ability to switch off your microphone. All of these settings will require 1 or 2 buttons maximum to operate. What's more, a signal will alert the user if anyone is trying to hack the microphone or any other key features. Symantec will cooperate with Tega Systems on some of the more key security capabilities. Many now know that switching off your phone does not disable the GPS. That's where Symantec comes in. Other phones exist with similar capabilities, with the Black phone, an Android-based solution from Europe, released 4 months ago. It boasts information encryption, something the likes of whistleblowers Edward Snowden and Julian Assange have been very vocal about. Despite the obvious advantages of encryption, high security devices still aren't the mainstream, even in the corporate sector, for which the Tega phone was developed. The situation today is such that the standard phones are bought in most cases, with the company installing various add-ons for its employees. The price and arrival date are being kept under wraps. According to Nagode, the company is in talks to equip other makes with the Tega system soon. So it's the Russian firm on the surveillance-proof smartphones. Me personally, I'd say anything that's smart, it's probably not so smart after all. Next one, pay to protest. Can I just get a confirmation of you, Dom? Are you actually seeing these articles on your screen as I'm showing them? Is there anything coming up on your side? Just so I know that I can, it's all good to carry on. I'll carry on, I'll go ahead, I'm not too sure, I'll try and find out as soon as possible. This article's pay to protest. Campaigners reject government bid to privatize dissent. Protesters gathering during a protest against Israel's airstrikes in Gaza in London, July the 11th of last year, 2014. So furious campaign groups across the UK have rejected the government's proposed pay-to-protest measures, warning they will not hire private companies to facilitate anti-government rallies. Their announcement on Thursday came shortly after Scotland Yard told protest groups it will no longer monitor traffic adjacent to protest sites in Britain. The force had previously carried out this role for decades. The Metropolitan Police said campaign groups organising demonstrations will now have to pay for related traffic management, including road closures, stewards and barriers. But campaign groups strongly rejected the suggested policy shift. In a joint statement, groups said the pay-to-protest measures were an assault on fundamental rights. Among those who refused to accept Scotland Yard's demands are the People's Assembly Against Austerity, Friends of the Earth, Defend the Right to Protest, Stand Up to Racism, CND, Unite Against Fascism, the Campaign Against Climate Change, Million Women Rise, Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and Stop the War. Vice Chair of Stop the War, Chris Nynham, said protest is vital to any robust democracy and must be preserved. There you go, plenty more images there of the previous demonstrations, protests in the past. Quite some more comments from here. One from CND General Secretary Kate Hudson stressed creeping privatisation in Britain counters the public interest. So we arrive at a situation where well-funded campaigns can afford to protest and the poor could not, be against everything that our society stands for. We absolutely oppose any attempt to charge people to protest. So we need to set in mind to this one. We need a protest to stand up to, not have to pay to protest. So there it goes. Not like much protesting does anything but raise awareness in some places and areas for some people. I don't really think the ones in key places are paying that much attention. That's my personal opinion on that. This one's the teen found guilty of plotting to behead soldier. In letters found at his home in London, Rustam Ziamani had written, "We should do a 9/11/77 and a Woolwich all in one day." It's a pretty big statement. A trio of so-called terrorist attacks. A teenage Muslim convert who idolised the colours of Fusili Rigby has been found guilty of planning his own attack on members of the British military. So Ziamani, 19, was arrested by counter-terrorism officers on 19th of August last year, carrying a rucksack containing a 12-inch knife, a large hammer, and an Islamic flag. He later told a security officer at Wandsworth Prison in London that he had been on his way to behead a British soldier at an army barracks and hold the severed head in the air when he was arrested. Ziamani from Camberwell, South East London, had been on police bail at the time he was stopped with the weapons, having been held almost 2 months earlier for posting extremist messages on Facebook. At the time of his first arrest on the 27th of June, officers searched his belongings and found a letter he had written to his parents. One passage stated, "We should do a 9/11/77 and a Woolwich all in one day." He also told his parents of his intention to fight jihad and wage war against the British government. There's an image of his letter there. And the letter goes on, an image of his machete he was carrying. And that's it. I'm not sure if there's an image of his hammer here as well. That's the flag. Oh, there's the hammer. So there you go. This one's the BBC reporter almost killed by Ukrainian shell as he accuses rebels of shelling. BBC reporter makes the ridiculous claim that rebels were shelling themselves just moments after surviving a Ukrainian shell. So there's a video with this, and I will be attempting to play it. All going well. Apologies for the source.
This is what a scorched earth policy actually looks like. Barely recognisable for what it is. Donetsk International Airport. A symbol of the searing intensity of the war in Ukraine that's supposed to have stopped. A battle that pictures a Western-leaning government against a rebel army that turns to its Russian neighbour. So this is day 2 of a shaky ceasefire, and heavy weapons are supposed to be pulled back. But that isn't what's happening here. The rebel defense minister says he'll only pull his forces back when he has proof that the Ukrainians on this front line have withdrawn theirs. But the issue that threatens this peace deal isn't that the guns haven't pulled back here, it's that they're still firing. This is supposed to be day 2 of the ceasefire in eastern Ukraine, and as we've been hearing, the peace has not settled in. We've been hearing the consistent sound of artillery fire. That's another one. Most of it appears to be outgoing. What the people of the Donetsk People's Republic are saying is that they're suppressing fire. Stay together. Run. The Ukrainians insist they haven't broken the truce, accusing the rebels of shelling their own territory.
Непонятно, чего делать. Ну, вот вы слышите сами.
That's firing out.
Нет, входящий, исходящий.
No, it's in and out. The defense minister says he's trying to stop the enemy from firing at their positions.
Мы работаем только на.
The last effort to stop this war failed. Today's peace deal has held in most places, but there's a clear risk that what we're watching is history repeating itself. Iain Duncan, BBC News at Donetsk International Airport.
So BBC propagandist runs from incoming Ukrainian artillery, but calls it outgoing rebel shelling. Apparently in the Western media you should not believe your own eyes or reason. Out is in, up is down, left is right. Basically, all I'm going to say on that article. So over to you, Don, when you're ready with your articles there. Unless you've got some comments.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we'll move on to mine. The first one's housing benefit cuts for under 25s. Young people again feel the worst of it. So they're on about cutting housing benefit for anyone under 25. So if you're not working, you want an house. Basically, you're not going to get one. All of this is sadly becoming a reality for increasing numbers of young people, and plans floated yet again by the Prime Minister and Chancellor this week to abolish housing benefit for under 25s will only make things worse. There's nothing unusual about someone in their early 20s living with mum and dad in 21st century Britain. Indeed, in laying out his plans to abolish housing benefit for under 25, Chancellor George Osborne said, "There are plenty of people listening to this programme who can't afford to move out of their home, but there are people on benefits who can get housing benefit from under the age of 25. Osborne seems to be talking about those many young people struggling to get on the housing ladder, an issue around which much of the debate on young people and housing focuses. It's not hard to see why this is such a concern. Sky-high property prices, the need for substantial deposits, and the growing reliance on the bank of mum and dad mean that for many home ownership is out of reach. But there is another story, less often told, of a growing group of young people falling even further down the pile. What Osborne didn't mention is how precarious things are out there if you're fortunate enough to be young yet unable to live with your parents. About 380,000 people aged under 25 are currently supported by housing benefit. Of these, 204,000 are parents, mostly single mothers, and at least 66,000 are working, and 28,000 are sick or disabled and claiming ESA. Around a quarter, 99,000, are looking for work. There are many reasons why some young people cannot live at home. Their parents may have died, there may not be enough space, or indeed they might have moved away to look for or take up work. They may have suffered abuse at home, or have simply been told they are not welcome to stay or move back in. Latest government statistics show that 10,000 people were accepted as homeless last year because their parents wouldn't or couldn't house them. It is sometimes stressed that these young people rely on housing benefit are while living a life of Raleigh. In fact, the situation for many is very precarious, having been particularly badly hit by the government's sustained cuts and changes to housing benefit. So this is like a little article about stopping it. But what I read so earlier is that only £123 million is it costs us a year for under 25's housing benefit. 123 million, which is basically nothing really, and it's going to cause a lot of homelessness. A lot of people are going to be on the streets. Have you got any comments on this, Paul?
Well, that's, in my opinion, the whole design and purpose of it all. It's the structure behind, the backbone to it all is, surely part of Agenda 21 when you follow some of the things that they've been doing. But not only that, is it's ageist as well. Why pick on a certain age category just to save a few pennies now and again?
Exactly, they're going to save £120 million a year, £120 million, which is nothing really. And yeah, this is going to affect a lot of people. People being kicked out by the parents are going to be made homeless.
Yeah, and there's nowhere for them to go. I mean, you've got your bed and breakfast, but I mean, obviously there's not going to be enough places to.
Well, this is what's going to happen. It's going to end up
costing more.
Trying to save money on housing benefit, but it's going to actually cost more when they have to put them in B&Bs, hostels and stuff.
Well, unless they're going to bring some sort of FEMA camp business into play, so can't really see another alternative if they push this one out. Yeah, a worrying article that. I've been there myself and how it feels, so yeah, sympathies for those under 25. But you can, write your letter of thanks to the Conservative.
So I'm wondering, what if you're 20 years old and you're getting housing benefit at the minute? Will that take it away? Will they take it away from you then, or is it anyone from at the age of 18?
I'm not sure. It might be anybody from that date when the legislation, gets put through and put into force.
You never know with this government.
You never know. Without a mandate, expect anything.
Well, my second article is the shocking stories between Britain's third evictions, which is related to the housing benefit. Last year saw a record number of evictions in England and Wales, but where are they most likely to happen and why? Tenants are being evicted when they complain about bad conditions in their homes, which is true if you're renting in the private sector. Kelly and her 3 kids were kicked out of their home after she complained that the floor of their rented house was rotten through. She and her family are just 5 of nearly 42,000 people kicked out of their homes through the courts last year. This is a record number, up 11% from eviction in 2013. This is the first time rental evictions have come up for more than 40,000 per year. Here's a map of where evictions have taken place. This is a little map here. The North West England, the second worst, is here. 3,736 evictions last year in 2014. Wales had the least evictions, 1,012. London obviously had the highest, but it's the biggest city, 15,770. Yeah, so this is about around it, just off Yorkshire way by 2007. Quite a lot. But the nightmare evictions isn't over when you get evicted. Sometimes it's just the beginning. Kelly's story is one example of how difficult it is to be one of those 40,000 evictions. rotten floors, no kitchen and a broken boiler. Kelly, her 3 sons and her husband were moved to a B&B after they were evicted for complaining about repairs. She said, "We were in a private accommodation for over 3 years. The landlord wanted us out because he didn't want us to do the repairs to the property. It took us 7 months to get a kitchen and over a year to get a new boiler. We had environmental health involved. There were illegal gas safety certificates, and the floors were all rotten. They took their eviction notice to the council and were placed 80 miles away in another borough. They told us that if we didn't take this place, we'd have made ourselves intentionally homeless and they wouldn't help us." So they were 80 miles away. I mean,
Yeah, that's how they do it, don't they? They twist it back onto you. Make out like
but people want to stay in their own city. You don't want to be moved 80 miles away.
Why should they have to? They shouldn't have to be moved 80 miles away.
Well, the B&B they are currently staying in is no better than their old home.
Because you know that 80 miles, let me just interrupt you, because that 80 miles it'll extend to 800 miles when we become fully part of the Europe, and then it'll be, for all we know, then it'll be 8,000 miles, it'll just go on and on.
Well, she's complaining about her B&B's not being as good the same as their old home. Conditions are a nightmare, she says. They had fire safety checks which seemed that the building wasn't safe to live in. Environmental health got involved, irritating the landlord. He came round a few weeks ago threatening to evict us because we weren't happy about the conditions. As a result of their eviction, 2 of her sons are not attending school. Kelly's youngest son has special needs and used to be picked up by special transport, but since moving 80 miles away, this is no longer possible. Her husband has suffered a stroke and a heart attack, partly she believes due to the stress of being placed so far away from their support network. So yeah, there's 4 reasons that people get evicted. Looking at the map, you can see the places with the highest number of evictions, which we just looked at. More than half the boroughs in London saw a record high in the number of tenants evicted from their homes. Newham and Haringey are dealing with 1,000 cases last year, well over 2 a day. Evictions are most likely to take place in expensive areas because these are the areas with severe shortage of affordable housing. But that's not the only reason people get evicted. Number 1, landlords may believe if they kick you out, they can get another tenant in who will pay more money. Number 2, people are struggling and end up in arrears because there's serious wage stagnation that doesn't match up the cost of living. Number 3, the bedroom tax has cut housing benefit for many families, leaving them in arrears. Number 4 is landlords simply don't like their tenants or find their tenants too challenging. These are called revenge evictions.
You know my opinion on those 4 bullet points there, Don, if you just want to scroll up. Make it quick. This one, number 1, 2, 3 and 4, they all should be made illegal. They all are illegal in my opinion, including bedroom tax. So yeah, stamp it all out. That's how you solve that one.
Well, here there's a little bit about revenge evictions are increasingly common. People say it's scary when you haven't got a job or money for deposit. But evictions can be challenged. Short of fixing the problem by building more affordable housing and creating more tenant-friendly policies, which is tricky as a lot of MPs are landlords, there are something you can do. So yeah, that's there. A lot of MPs are landlords.
Well, that's it. Just another case. Social cleansing, you know.
Just shows you that they're on so much money if they can afford to buy houses to rent them out. If you think you're at risk of being evicted, you may want to know what your rights are. Yeah, do you think the private tenants have enough rights?
No, I
private tenants don't have enough rights.
I don't think anybody's got enough rights, to be honest.
You don't?
No.
Let's have a look on here. 89% think they don't have enough rights. Only 11% think they do. That's the article. Shocking story.
That's another
evictions.
Another thing with landlords not willing to do repair work and maintenance, you know, and then tenants are scared to start complaining too much in fear that they'll not get a tenancy renewal, so they're stuck living in rotting, apartments and that.
Yep. Well, the next article is Iain Duncan Smith's welfare saving in one shaming graph. The benefits cap has cut the welfare budget by just 0.05%, a great pain to many families. Here's Iain Duncan Smith here, who was the architect of the welfare cap. Last year, the coalition government capped the amount of benefits working age households could receive to £500 per week for families with children and £350 per week for single people. It has so far impacted 27,000 families and has caused lots of pain. The final slap in the face is that it hasn't even saved the government that much. Yesterday, we finally found out which it has saved. So total savings is 0.05% of welfare spending. The welfare cap has so far saved around 100 million a year, the Institute for Fiscal Studies says. It may sound like a lot, but it's just 0.05% of the total welfare budget, which is 215 billion, or 0.1% of its annual bill if we don't count benefits for pensioners, which is 94 billion. So this is how much is the benefits cap actually saved? Saved from the benefit cap, the total welfare bill for the 2014 to 15 year. The state pension is 86.5 billion. That's the biggest amount. What's I think half of the welfare bill is state pension.
Well, that's it. You know, just another article to attack the state pension, making out that's the next one to go. We need to cut back on that, and we need to get a bit more money from that. And you know, I like how NHS is not on there.
Incapacity benefit 14 billion. The disability allowance or PIP is 15.2 billion. Housing benefit 24.1 billion, and tax credits 30 billion, and other benefits 30.5 billion. So the total welfare bill is 215 billion. Those savings in full 0.1 billion, so that's 100 million we saved.
So that tiny little blue box with circle is equivalent to that big blue box area of all of them combined, yeah?
Yep, that's how much was.
That just goes to show it all, really, doesn't it?
I mean, those who have been it have lost at least £46 a week, a substantial chunk of their income, which is, if you're on benefits, £46 a week is a lot of money. Yeah. So yeah, they're slightly more likely to get a job, but the majority still haven't. So what's the version of the welfare cap? So far there have been very limited fiscal benefits. The vast majority of affected claimants responded neither by moving into work nor by moving house. If the Tories win the election, they are pledged to lower the welfare cap from the current 26,000 a year per family to 23,000 a year, so it's going to get worse. Do you think the benefits cap was worth it? Yes, we have saved 100 million a year for now, but the savings are about to increase. No, the welfare cap isn't working, that's what I think.
Comparing to damage it's caused,
92%. No, the welfare cap isn't working. I mean, this welfare cap it's not so much for people up north, but a lot of people down south where it's really expensive. I mean, they're being forced out of London basically. A lot of people on benefits are being forced out of London and they're being forced up north.
Yeah,
that's what this government want. They want all the poor people out of London. They want to price all the poor people out of London and just have it for rich, which is on its way to happen in a few years' time. No poor people will be living in London. It'll be too expensive to live there. Next article, which is related again, the Employment Minister is completely wrong about benefit sanctions. Employment Minister Esther McVey has argued that sanctions are necessary and helpful as they alert authorities that someone is vulnerable and in need of help. This is Esther McVey. So she's argued the benefit sanctions help alert authorities that certain people are vulnerable and in need of help. Giving evidence to MPs on the Work and Pensions Select Committee about the impact of benefit sanctions, she contradicted previous evidence given to the committee, stating categorically that there are no targets for sanctions. She said that once claimants were sanctioned, it acted as a red flag and alerted the authorities that a person was vulnerable and in need of help. She was asked whether a good welfare system needed sanctions and replied, "It's not just me saying that, it's been said since time began and all the international evidence is saying that." This is simply not true. The international evidence is mixed at best, with some studies showing that the mere threat of sanctions enforces compliance and others showing that sanctions make no difference to the rate at which people enter employment. The startling evidence we've seen shows sanctions in a different light. Sanctions tend to hit the most vulnerable people, and although the DWP provide hardship payments, it's unclear how many people get them. For people who are already finding it difficult to manage with limited financial support, benefits are a lifeline, and evidence shows that taking that away is not an effective incentive for those who really cannot find work. What the Department for Work and Pensions effectively does is wash their hands of these claimants when they are sanctioned. We already know that single parents are most likely to be sanctioned incorrectly because there are no allowances for failing to meet unreasonable demands. Lone parents shout at gingerbread from that single parents who already struggle on reduced incomes are expected to be able to cope up for childcare, take on shifts that are incompatible with school hours. When they fail to do this, they are sanctioned and then left without money for food, sometimes for months at a time if they are sanctioned at a high level. So these are the GSA sanctions overturned, not the best decisions for single parents. All claimants, 41%. Single parents, all claimants, 32%. This is low level, that's the total. Low level, immediate level, and there's an high level there. Have you got anything to say on comments on that?
Looking at that chart, you can see how the most one that fluctuates is the high level, so they've been attacking that category a lot more.
Yeah, they've been attacking single parents at 69%.
Which I'd imagine the high level is talking about the 3-year sanctions, because it states there sometimes for months at a time if they are sanctioned at a high level. So that's considered.
Yeah, at low level is 4 weeks. 4 weeks is low level, isn't it?
Right, yeah, so that's just goes to show the amount of people who've been left without food, despite a red flag warning system.
I mean, do you think the benefit sanctions are fair? Well, definitely not. 95% think no, only 5% think yes. Yes. Well, it's not one, but yeah, she's definitely wrong here though about benefit sanctions. She's got a clue. That's doing it fair. She don't always like to live on, well, nothing. Minimum sanction is 4 weeks. You lose your money for 4 weeks. She don't always like to live on no money for 4 weeks.
And not just that, but when you get your money reinstated, you're forever living in arrears, because it's so hard to get yourself back out.
Well, you get in arrears, don't you? When they stop your money, you get in rent arrears.
Oh yeah, but then when you get back
tax arrears, you get electric and gas arrears, council tax arrears.
It's all designed. It's all designed. All right, I'll continue now with what I've got. Iraq UN ambassador accuses ISIS of harvesting organs. Ambassador Mohammed Al-Hakim stated that over the past few weeks, bodies with missing kidneys and surgical incisions had been unearthed in shallow graves. Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations on Tuesday asked the Security Council to investigate allegations that ISIS is harvesting organs in order to finance its operations. Ambassador Mohammed Al-Hakim states that over the past few weeks, bodies with missing kidneys and surgical incisions have been unearthed in shallow graves. We have bodies, come and examine them, he told reporters, according to the Telegraph. It is clear they are missing certain parts. He added that dozens of doctors had been executed in Mosul, apparently because they had refused to take part in the organ harvesting. Meanwhile, the outgoing UN envoy to Iraq, Nikolai Milanov, noted increasing reports that ISIS was using organ harvesting, saying it's very clear that the tactics ISIL is using expanding by the day. Especially worrying is the increasing number of reports of revenge attacks committed particularly against members of the Sunni community in areas liberated from ISIS control, he added. In February, the Pentagon stated that ISIS is no longer relying on oil as its main source of revenue to fund its terrorist activity. We know that oil revenue is no longer the lead source of their ISIS income in dollars. Pentagon spokesperson Rear Admiral John Kirby told reporters during a press briefing, ISIS' loss of income is compounded by its losses on the battlefield, as the group has lost literally hundreds and hundreds of vehicles that they can't replace. They've got to steal whatever they want to get, and there's a finite number. ISIS is instead depending on a lot of donations as one of the main sources of income. They also have a significant black market program going on, Kirby said. So allegations, and the Iraq UN ambassador accuses ISIS of harvesting organs and requires and demands for the Security Council to investigate. The next one, oil being ripped off? Question. Energy suppliers overcharge millions of households up to £230. This is the article from the Mirror. Rip-off. The watchdog is investigating why customers do not shop around. Millions of households are being charged up to £234 a year over the odds by rip-off energy suppliers, a report has found. An overwhelming 95% of dual-fuel customers could have slashed their energy bills by moving provider between the start of 2012 and the middle of 2014, a study by the Competition and Markets Authority concluded. Those with most need the help, the elderly and the poor, are the least likely to get the savings, it said. Hundreds of thousands of us will get an extra energy shock when 31 tariffs expire this spring. The CMA report revealed just how much power the big six suppliers still wield. 40% of households who buy their gas from British Gas have been with the industry giant for at least 10 years. Half of us have never switched energy providers. Check out the Mirror's Big Energy Switch campaign here. So the same is true for many of the privatized suppliers who inherited millions of electricity customers in different regions of the country. Between 40 and 50% of electricity customers have not switched in the past decade, rising to 70% in the case of one supplier, the CMS. Electricity prices soared by 24% between 09 and 13, and gas by 27% during the same period. However, the CMA held off concluding whether this has led to excessive profits for suppliers. Profit margins on gas between 2009 and 2013 averaged 4.4% and 2.1% for electricity, it said. However, the watchdog added that suppliers were making money from standard variable tariff customers, those who were the least likely to have switched than on other tariffs. It comes as British Gas is due to announce annual profits of around £415 million tomorrow, although the figure will be down shortly on 2013. The CMA report also suggested suppliers were making more money out of the small business customers. Today's findings come after it launched the biggest ever probe into the energy sector last June. The move followed a referral from industry regulator Ofgem. Final report until the end of the year. However, the initial conclusions don't appear to suggest the big six energy giants should be broken up, as some critics want. Instead, the report says the profits made in their generation arms were broadly in line with the cost of capital. So, do you shop around when you're sorting your energy bills? I'm gonna yes or no, Dan? Do this one, seeing as I can get your answer. What's your answer to that?
Do you shop around when sorting your energy bills? I actually don't. I when I moved into my flat 8 months ago, I had British Gas as my supplier, and I've actually stuck with him.
Click no. 67% said no.
Wow.
Caroline Flint, Labour's Shadow Energy Secretary, said this report confirms that Britain's energy market is broken and that radical action is needed to protect consumers. Energy bills £300 a year higher under the Tories, and David Cameron has let the energy companies get away with overcharging millions of consumers. Well, no questions needed there. That's why the next Labour government will freeze energy prices until 2017. Whoopie-doo. So that bills can fall but not rise. Give the regulator the power to force energy suppliers to cut their prices and end overcharging once and for all. Richard Lloyd, Executive Director of which, said this is a watershed moment for the energy market, as the CMA confirms what we've known all along, that competition is not working for consumers.
They need to get rid of standing charges. That's what they need to do.
They need to abolish the standing charge.
Maybe they should abolish standing charges for poor people, because a lot of poor people will only get the basic rate of £72 a week. Simply cannot afford these.
No, listen.
Every penny matters to them.
Look at dividends they're getting. They've got, secret subsidies. They need to just stop taxing people and charging people for anything, no matter whether you're poor or not. Unless you're like mega rich, then that's debatable. But it's all wrong in my mind. Serbia hires ex-vote Blair as advisor. This has been covered by
Bloody hell.
many other sources. Serbia has hired Tony Blair to work for Prime Minister Alexander Vučić. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I went for it there. Who once served in the same regime that was targeted by NATO airstrikes advocated by the then British leader in 1999. Tony Blair Associates is helping the Serbian government set up a delivery unit to advise Vučić on carrying out reforms, according to a statement from the former British Prime Minister's consultancy. This project was directly negotiated and agreed between Serbia and TVA following meetings between Tony Blair and the Serbia Prime Minister, and was not part of any wider agreement, the statement said. Blair was a leading promoter of a NATO bombing campaign against Serbia over its repressive policy in Kosovo under Slobodan Milosevic regime, in which Vučić was information minister. A former top official of the ultra-nationalist Serbian Radical Party, Vučić is listed as an editor of the 2005 book entitled Engleske Hrvatske Ispranak, Tony Blair. English Gay for Tony Blair, which is what it stands for. I've had a look for it, can't find it. It's been reported this article in UK today. They said they didn't really find it. So if you manage to find it, should be interesting read. So there you go. Finishing off with this article.
Has Blair picked his award up yet?
Which one's that? He's got quite a lot on.
The Children Award.
Oh, I'm not sure.
He's he's won the prize anyway. I'm not sure if he's picked it up yet.
There he is, Mr. Blair, working for the Serbian government. Okay, this one. Cities fit for cycling. I don't know why it says that, but this is the Times, and I don't know if that's appropriate or if you've got any thoughts on that. But this article says, women cyclist is crushed to death by turning lorry. And apparently, this is not the only woman. There's been quite so many. These are the names. I'll just see with that in the way. Just try and minimise it a little bit. There you go. So these are the names, or some of. Jamie Murray, 23 of Hastings, East Sussex, died in a crash in St Leonard's in the early hours of New Year's Day. Stephanie Turner, 29, a physiotherapist, was killed in a collision with a lorry on Stamford Hill North London on January the 20th, and on February the 2nd, Akis Koloros, 34, a music producer and sound engineer, died in a collision with a lorry in Homerton. 4 days later, Federico Baldasso, 26, a fashion designer, died after an accident with a lorry in Bloomsbury Square in London. Craig Armitage, 44, died after colliding with a Hyundai i30 car on February 15th during a ride with the Botley Cycle Club in Yorkshire. So this is campaigners issued new warnings yesterday about the risk posed by lorries on urban streets after a woman became the 4th cyclist to die in London this year. The cyclist in her 30s was believed to be riding a hired Boris Johnson bike, when she went under the near side of the HGV as it turned left at a junction. She was pronounced dead at the scene, close to Victoria Tube Station in the morning rush hour, with witnesses describing the bicycle as mangled under the wheels. The AA, which has been campaigning for better safety for cyclists, said the incident bore all the hallmarks of the typical London cycle death. All other deaths this year involved lorries, and 3 of the victims were women. It said that more action was needed to deal with the threat posed by lorries and buses, which were causing carnage on the road. 4 cyclists have now died in London since the start of the year, and 13 were killed nationwide by mid-January. That is more than the average of fewer than 10 for the whole of January in previous years. The increase comes despite raised awareness of the risks to cyclists promoted by the Times City's Fit for Cycling campaign and schemes run by organisations such as the AA. Cycling in the capital is more popular than ever, with figures from Transport for London showing a 10% increase in the past year. Bicycles make up 16% of traffic in the central London and 25% at peak times on key routes. Cycle lanes have grown in London and elsewhere, and more are planned. Last month it was announced that the government had amended the infrastructure bill to set aside a budget for cycling provision. So if you do ride bikes in London and elsewhere, very nice to pay that extra bit of attention. Just my final article. Gloucestershire's budget announced. You won't be paying any more council tax if you're in the area of Gloucestershire. Posted it and talked on the Sheffield article about a week ago now. So Gloucestershire's £420 million budget will focus on investing in rural transport, Wi-Fi and libraries, and the Highways local scheme. Council tax will be frozen for the 5th year in a row in Gloucestershire, as councillors agreed the county's 2015 to 16 budget. Gloucestershire's £420 million budget will focus on investing in rural transport, Wi-Fi, libraries, and highways local schemes. Liberal, Democrat, Labour, and Green councillors negotiated a £598,000 increase in investment, money that was going to spend paying off some of the county's debt. It includes £100,000 to carry out feasibility studies and preparation work for future cycling schemes, £100,000 to invest in transport, and £36,000 ongoing costs to implement the living wage. Another £100,000 will be spent on installing free Wi-Fi in all county and community libraries, and £30,000 will be spent on the rural sustainable drainage scheme for the front catchment area. So these are small amounts of money. Obviously, that's spreading out to be much. Budget is in line with the council's strategy and its savings programme meeting the challenge. Together we can, which looks to make savings of around £75 million over the next 3 years to meet the cost of Gloucestershire's ageing population and expected reductions in central government grant. So the £1,000 132,500 was be put to the highways local scheme, and that's about it for that one. So that's the Gloucestershire area frozen for another year. Okay, so over to you now when you're ready.
Aren't there?
£1, 50 something, is it? £1.46
a week, yeah.
a week, yeah.
Some have gone up more. Mine's gone up £2.
Yeah.
Something a week.
All right, over to you. Have you got your final articles there?
Yeah. This one is Bedfordshire is the murder capital of Britain. Here, see how your area compares to some areas here. What's that we can compare? Bedfordshire was the murder capital of Britain last year. 526 men, women, and children died at hands of another person last year in England and Wales. Each of these separate tragedies had a different story, but looking at the statistics can tell us something about who gets murdered, who the murderers are, and what can be learned. Bedfordshire, the region that includes cities of Luton and Bedford, had the highest homicidal rate in England and Wales last year. 12 people were killed there last year. How did your region compare? Click on your region, see the numbers of people killed last year. So where do you want to go then, Paul? Where should we have a look?
I'm struggling to try and figure out which area that is to start off with.
I'll look on here.
Going dark red, top dark red.
Yeah, number of people murdered here in 2013 to 14. 12 murder rate per million, so per million of 11.6. So what's that? 12 murder rate. So 12 were killed. Yeah, Leicestershire is one of the highest. Let's have a look here at Lincolnshire. Murder really is a bit
So anyway, is this the statistics on the murders from?
So 8 people got murdered per 7.8 million.
Yeah, but are these murders, are these due to the policies of the likes of like Iain Duncan Smith and people like that? Or is this just like, you know, getting hit by a car and hit and run or stabbing?
No, these are murders, these.
These are all shootings and...
No, anything, all just murders, anything, whatever.
Right, but what I'm saying though, does it also include like government policies what force people
No, unfortunately, no, it doesn't include Iain Duncan Smith's murdering scheme.
Right, so it's not really accurate then, is it? No.
No, I mean, Iain Duncan Smith killed Harmony.
Dread to think.
At least 58 can be associated with sanctions. So 58 deaths. So Iain Duncan Smith killed more than people in Bedfordshire. So here's the graph anyway. 18 people killed in Bedfordshire. South Yorkshire was in it just over 16. On 16, then you've got Lincolnshire, London, and West Midlands. Well, I'm from South Yorkshire. I'm surprised South Yorkshire's only the second from there. But we do hear of murders already, don't we?
Yeah.
But the good news is homicidal is at its lowest level since 1989. Your chance of being murdered is 1 in 1,000 over your life. Women are most likely to be murdered by their partners. Women murdered by their partners. 46% of women murdered last year were killed by former or current partners. Men are most likely to be murdered by their friends. Half of all murders are caused by quarrels or revenge. At 6, the most common murder weapon was a knife. Half of all murders took place in the house. Is murder something you fear in your area? Well, I don't really fear it here. What about you, Paul? Do you?
Well, goes back to...
I don't really live in fear. I mean, when I walk around the streets, I'm not really in fear of my life. I can actually walk around. I think I much feel safe. So I put no.
Are you in fear of getting sanctioned?
Say no. 30% yes.
Are you in fear of getting sanctioned?
I mean, that's, so yeah, but that's Bedfordshire for you then, the murder capital of Britain. Right, moving on. Man lost leg after piles set him on fire as he slept drunk on bathroom floor. Craig Finn was in a coma following the horrific incident which happened just weeks after he had moved into the house. A young man whose leg needed to be amputated after he was allegedly set on fire while asleep drunk on the bathroom floor last night said, "My life has changed forever." Devastated Craig Finn enjoyed an all-day drinking session with pals at his home, but it ended in catastrophe. The 25-year-old nodded off on the sofa, but later ended up snoozing on the bathroom floor, while others allegedly touched his body. The labourer was no real collection of the assault in February last year. Only remembers waking up in hospital, clinging onto life with burns across his body. This is him in the wheelchair. His condition was so bad that he remained in a coma for a whole month, and his family feared he would need another amputation on his right leg. His right ankle needed to be completely reconstructed. Craig from Seaham, County Durham, said, "I don't think what happened has hit me yet, to be honest. I just have to get on with my life. I'm still young and I can't let it get the better of me. This has changed my life forever." The attack happened just 3 weeks after Craig had moved into his home. The horrendous catalogue of injuries included third-degree burns to both of his legs and back. Craig's mum, Diane Barker, 51, also born to his sisters Sam, 29, Danielle, 27, and Lyra, 9, recalled the agonising weeks watching her son battle to stay alive. These are his injuries here. I mean, there is actually some injuries when he first got taken into hospital under here. This is him here. That's one picture. You see as his leg goes down and it goes to one side here. He nearly lost his bit, but they managed to save it. But there's horrific burns here. That's another one. But they've done burns all his leg, the ends of it after amputated. These are, yeah, horrific photos. Him laying in a coma. Recovering.
So allegedly, it's not really confirmed then, no?
Well, they've been arrested, but yeah, I think they'll get sit down for this. I mean, Diane said his mum, he was in a coma for the whole of February. We nearly lost him twice during that time because his lungs were full of fluid. There was a concern that they might lose his right leg too. Two men, aged 24 and 32, have been charged with grievously body harm with intent, arson with intent to endanger his life, causing grievously body harm without intent, and arson reckless as to whether their life was endangered. It will appear in court in April. So I'll keep track of this story and see what happens. Hopefully report in April and see how the trial's going. I hope he makes a great recovery. The best he can do anyway. I mean, he had lost his. He's still got a bit of leg here, so he could have a prosthetic leg, couldn't he?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at least you could have one of them if you want. Yeah. That's Craig Finn. And finally, clothing manufacturer forced to apologise for putting "Give it to your mum, it's her job" on washing label. An Italian clothing manufacturer has been accused of sexism after selling fashion items complete with washing instructions reading, "Give it to your mum, it's her job." Politician Federica Mazzona, who works at the Equality Commission at the Legislative Assembly in the country's Emilia-Romagna region, was incensed when a friend bought a cardigan for her son for the Sunshine clothing brand and found the offensive label. Miss Mazzona, 28, had now lodged a formal complaint with Italy's Advertising Council, the IAP, although the company that distributes Shoeshine clothing on a personnel has dismissed the controversial washing instructions as a simple joke aimed at teenagers. So here is the label, and you can see it here. Give it to your mum. It's her job. You see it here. I mean, it's only a joke, but apparently it's caused offence. Beneath a list of body washing instructions, including machine wash cold and do not dry clean, the Democratic Party MP found the English language instruction, or give it to your mum, it's her job. There was a photo of the label onto Facebook. Mazone wrote, doing the washing is not the mother's job. Fathers are also capable of turning a simple knob. Obviously, it wasn't enough for the company to provide all the necessary useful information. It felt the need to have to say by perpetuating a sexist message about mothers and women, which is also insulting for men and fathers, she added. Anyway, the cardigan is still in the wash basket. Mazzona was joined in her criticism by Facebook friend Erika Zambalina, who posted, if one did not see it, one would not believe it. Crazy. But Lorenzo Ginobessa posted, it could be morally harmful for kids, although I wonder how many youngsters will look at the label as they probably leave it to their mums. Responding to the accusations of sexism, Sushine distributor Unipersonal dismissed the claims. There is no kind of sexist irony. It's just a simple joke aimed at teenagers who are our target. The company said,
Uni personnel. I like the name there, Uni, with the sexism. Yeah, good that. Okay, is that all in all wrapped up for today? Until next time, the lamestream media sucks. Remember to tune in to the Axiom Flux. Thanks for watching.